Hello YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be presenting to you guys my favorite supplement for size and performance as a natural bodybuilder, namely bee pollen. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I've been taking bee pollen for now 3 years. And I spoke about it in the past, but I never went into details as to why it is so great. And so I want to do that for you guys today because I really think that you would benefit from taking this as well. But before we start, I want to begin with the most important part of the video, which is a warning. I know that because YouTube is the way it is, people tend to watch the 5 first minutes, they listen about the positives of a supplement, then they run away with it. This could be dangerous because if you're allergic to pollen and you take bee pollen, you could potentially die. This is not a laughing matter. You could have an anaphylactic shock and die right there. Your throat could just close and it's over. So I want to begin by saying that if, like me, you are allergic to bee pollen, taking bee pollen can be incredibly risky. And to this you could ask, okay, well then if that's the case, why do you take it? I personally began taking bee pollen because I wanted to fight my allergies. My pollen allergy was so bad that every single spring it would ruin my life. And because I did not want to take all of these man-made drugs that make you drowsy, make you gain weight, make you lose performance and energy, I was looking for a healthier, natural alternative. And this is when I discovered bee pollen. And I did my research and I realized it was possible to get rid of your allergies by micro-dosing bee pollen. So this is how I do it. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you that this is my method. Every single spring, at the start of spring, in April, I start by very small doses. What I mean by very small doses is, this is bee pollen right there. This right there. I don't know if you can even see it, but something like this, okay? One piece. That is a small dose. This is how conservative I am. I take one or two of these little pebbles and I put them on my tongue and that's it. I start with this because I have to build up tolerance. If you take more, you could trigger your body and have an allergic shock and potentially die. So don't do it. If you want to begin bee pollen, even if you're not allergic, you start with these small doses. And what I would do is, I would do that once a day at the start, then twice a day, 3 times a day, each time with a tiny bit more. And I would look at the way my body reacts. If my body has a negative reaction, I stop. Usually what I would experiment as someone who has an allergy to pollen is my mouth would start to it would get a little bit numb and it would start to tingle. If you're allergic to pollen, you know that sensation. Your palate starts to tingle, you want to scratch it. That is a reaction to the allergy. But by doing that every single day, eventually that goes away. And I build up like this. So usually I start at the start of April, and by the end of April, I'm able to consume a full teaspoon of bee pollen without getting any of the side effects. And this is when I know that it's starting to work. The beautiful thing about this is that once you get to that point, you have built tolerance to pollen, and usually that results in no sneezing, no coughing, no runny nose, and no allergic reaction to pollen in the air. That is what I started to do this for. This was my only intent. Because my allergies were so bad that I got to a point where I was sneezing 50 times a day and I eventually broke my ribs because I fragilized the ribs by sneezing, and one day, it's a story I told on the channel, I squatted 4 plates and my ribs shattered at the bottom of the rep, and it was a long rehab, and I did not want that to happen again because every single spring I would get that pain again. So this is what I did, and for a long time it's the only reason why I did it. So if you are like me and you suffer from allergies, again, I'm not a doctor, but this is something that you could consider doing by doing it extremely slowly. But, and most likely the majority of you guys clicked on this video for that reason, that is not why I named, and actually our ancestors named bee pollen the supplement of the gods. It's because outside of these benefits, there are also the performance and size benefits that people through all walks of life and through all runs of history have managed to get from this sup. So if I were to give you a little bit of a history lesson, we can start with the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians called bee pollen the powder that gives life. And usually the way they would consume it is they would mix it with water and honey, and that would be an energy drink for them. It was the ancestor of Red Bull in a sense, but much healthier. They would even go as far as placing that drink in the tombs of the pharaohs, because they believed, if you are versed in the religion that these people followed, that once Ra, le dieu Ra, the sun god Ra, would carry the pharaoh in his bark, he would embark him in a journey to go into the next realm. These people would be able to carry with them the things that were buried with them, and they would need sustenance. And the sustenance that was decided as the definitive choice was bee pollen. So that's pretty cool. But the Egyptians were not the only ones who believed that bee pollen was divine in essence. If you look at ancient Greece, the name given to bee pollen by the ancient Greeks was ambrosia, which literally means food of the gods. It was believed that the gods up in Mount Olympus would sustain themselves with it, and so naturally humans who wanted to acquire godlike qualities would also consume it. So athletes, for example, were given bee pollen before competitions. And it was so for performance, it was also to treat disease. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, would prescribe bee pollen to his patients as a drug, as a health restorative drug, because it was believed to extend life, it was believed to kill diseases and germs, and it was also believed to preserve youth in humans. And we'll see when we get to the part about modern science that Hippocrates was onto something. But as I said, it was both for health and for performance. And if you have followed my video about garlic, you know that garlic and bee pollen were used in combination. The two of them were fed to athletes before competitions because they were literally believed to be performance-enhancing drugs. And to this day, this same mindset is still prevalent in China and in the Far East. Bee pollen is still being fed to athletes before competition. The ancient Romans also believed something similar. They believed that bee pollen was a cure-all medicine, and that it was something that needed to be fed to soldiers before battle because it kept them full of energy. And that actually materialized, if you are an ancient Rome nerd, in the type of rations that were given to the soldiers. They would make cakes baked with bee pollen in them, and this is what they would carry around during the long campaigns to feast upon. The beautiful thing about bee pollen being that for them, a cake made of bee pollen, as long as it stays dry, will never go bad. Likewise, this will never go bad as long as you keep it away from humidity. The First Nations of America, the natives of America, also believed in the exact same thing. But the way they would do it is they would have pouches around their necks, like a necklace, and they would put bee pollen in it. And when they went on long journeys and they didn't have time to stop for hunts or to stop to gather food, they would just snack from the pouch because the bee pollen would keep them extremely energetic. So it was something sort of like lembas in Lord of the Rings. If you love Lord of the Rings, you know that they consume a sort of bread, an elvish bread that can fill the stomach of a man with a single bite. This bread wasn't inspired by bee pollen, but bee pollen is extremely similar to it. It's the closest thing in our real world to lembas in Lord of the Rings. So that is for the history and the mythology surrounding this food of the gods. But you could tell me, okay, that is just mythology. Yes, in a sense, but as we all know, ancestral belief and wisdom is always rooted in reality. And so if we look at modern science and even the birth of modern science with people like Maimonides, people like 𝔸𝕗𝕗𝕗𝕗, we'll see that pronunciation was horrible. I apologize to all of the Arabs and Muslims watching my videos. We see that the fathers of that modern medicine back then, 1,000 years ago, already were able to assess that this bee pollen possessed very important curative properties. So if we were to look through the lens of modern science and modern studies at what this can do for you, we can list, for example, the fact that it's a very potent antioxidant. It has anti-diabetic properties because it regulates the amount of glucose in your bloodstream. It also has hepatoprotective properties, so it protects your liver. It allows your liver to work properly. It has nephroprotective properties, so it allows the kidneys to also run properly, which is great if you have kidney stones. It's also great if you intake creatine. I understand that at some point it's a bit of a meme. Some people will tell you creatine is going to destroy your kidneys. No, not necessarily, but it can create issues like kidney stones in certain individuals. You also get very strong anti-inflammatory properties from this. So if you have tendon inflammation, muscle inflammation, this is going to take care of it for you. So those are all great side effects that, even if you only care about size and strength, are going to be incredibly beneficial because they're going to allow you to have a longevity that is going to be absolutely unmatched. This is why the ancient Greeks were right when they said that bee pollen intake preserves youth, because it literally keeps your body and your organs youthful. It also improves skin quality. So if you're the type of person who cares about what their skin looks like, which is most people, you don't want to look like a pirate in your 40s or 50s, that is also going to help. It's something I can attest to. It also helps with hair quality. It makes your hair smoother and more vibrant in a sense. And since I've been growing my hair for a while now, I can attest that I think that this has had a positive effect on this as well. That is for the people who always ask me what I use for my hair. I would actually list bee pollen in that. I think that it actually does help. And it also helps with digestion. It helps with cleaning the digestive tract, which is something I can also attest to. When I take it on an empty stomach in the morning, it does feel like it really allows me to start my day on the right path. I don't feel bloated. I feel like it really, for lack of a better term, magnetizes everything as it runs through my tract. That is also something that certain studies have demonstrated and have attempted to prove. There are also multitudes of studies that have linked performance increase and bee pollen intake. Again, they started 1,000 years ago, right? There were already attempts to prove that athletes benefited, and that has never stopped. Nowadays, of course, the studies are much more rigorous, but they always prove the same thing. Essentially, there are, I would say, 3 main qualities, maybe 4, that you can expect from bee pollen. The first is that it seems to improve protein synthesis. So people who intake bee pollen seem to have a higher ability of using the protein they intake to repair/build the muscles, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, the food that you're going to take in is going to be better allocated and better used by your body. That is already a big one, but it's not the only one. It's also the fact that it seems to reduce the amount of adipose tissue you build because it signals to your body to prioritize muscle growth. So if we look at studies, for example, I have one in front of me right now, there was a control group that did not intake bee pollen and another one that did intake it, and they had the exact same training, okay? The one that didn't intake it gained mass, and when you look at the quality of what they gained, it was maybe, these are random numbers, not in the study, 60% fat, 40% muscle. The group that took bee pollen seemed to have the opposite happen, where they had 40% fat, 60% muscle. So not only did they gain more overall, but the quality of what they gained also seemed to be improved. And as a lifter, when you're bulking, for example, it's something that you want. You absolutely want your muscle to stay anabolic and the fat to be catabolic and not the other way around. The third great factor, one that the studies also tend to focus on, is metabolic energy. How much energy is in your metabolism, how much you can expand, how fatigued you feel after exercise, how fast you recover. All of this seems to be greatly influenced by bee pollen intake. Again, with control group and groups that consume the supplement, the natural supplement, it has been shown that the people who do intake bee pollen seem to be able to do more volume with higher frequency, and on top of that, they recover faster from exercise. And as we know, that cycle of fatigue, exercise, and then recovery is what builds muscle. So if you can speed up that cycle, which is, by the way, what steroids do extremely well, you understand that you're going to make better gains, which then goes on to explain why the previous studies make a lot of sense. Of course, you would be able to build more mass, you're able to train harder, longer, and it doesn't stop there. This is the one that I know is going to be extremely tantalizing for many of you guys. These studies also show that people who take bee pollen see an increase in strength faster than people who don't. So it is the perfect natural supplement. Builds muscle, keeps you leaner, allows you to be more energetic and performant in the gym, and allows you to lift more weights. That is absolutely insane. How come no one talks about it? Extremely simple. There's no money to be made in this. I didn't get a check in the mail by Big B telling me, oh, we'll pay you $50,000 if you promote our supplement, because this is natural. It has been around for literally thousands of years, and no supplement company would be able to make a buck off of it because, well, there's nothing to manufacture. There's nothing to refine. This cannot be placed in a shiny bottle with 𝔸𝕗𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤 or whatever new name they come up with to sell you pills that at the end of the day don't even come close to this and are much more expensive. And to this you can ask, okay, how is this possible? How could nature outdo man-made drugs in that fashion? Well, this is explained by the nature of bee pollen, because if you look at the way it's produced, who produces bee pollen? Well, it's in the name, it's bees. The bees produce this when they go on to collect pollen to make honey. And so if you look at the composition, the chemical composition of this bee pollen right there, you'll see that it's made so of pollen, of course, but it's also made of nectar, meaning that there is honey in this, and there's also bee salivary secretions. The pollen part is actually the male flower's reproductive organ that is collected by the bee. That also already is significant, because if you think about it, that is the part that allows the flower to reproduce. So it's the part that has the higher vitality, quote unquote, and it's being, in a sense, collected by the bees, and it's being mixed and matched with other things like the nectar and the honey that the bees survive off of, and also that they feed their young. This is what makes it so potent. And then you have the saliva. And the reason why I insist on the saliva of the bee is because the enzymes that make bee pollen so potent come from the saliva. So it's absolutely essential that the bee pollen that you buy and consume is not refined or manufactured by men. It needs to be refined and manufactured by bees. Not that I think bee pollen made by men exists, but you never know. Of course, a company would come up with something like this. And as a result, the nutrition profile of this bee pollen is insane. So in one teaspoon of bee pollen, you get 1.2 grams of protein, 2.18 grams of carbs, only for 15 calories. If you compare that to other sources of amino acids that people say are great for bodybuilding, like for example fish, beef, milk, cheese, eggs, bee pollen is by far the most abundant source of these amino acids. It has actually been described as the richest source of amino acids found in nature, in a single food. But not just amino acids, it's also rich in vitamins, minerals, trace elements, and hormone precursors, the hormone coming from the saliva of the bees. So that is the explanation as to why bee pollen is so potent. That is what science has to say about its benefits. But what about me? What did I find? Do I agree with all of this? Well, let's start first and foremost with the thing that I agree the most with, both with our ancestors, regardless of where they come from, and with science, which is the fact that, yes, bee pollen is incredible for energy. The amount of energy you're going to get from intaking bee pollen is going to surprise you. I don't know if you can tell, I'm hype as fuck, and I haven't drank coffee, I'm not doing cocaine on the side. It's the bee pollen. Every time I start to take it, every time it cycles back into my life, I find myself hyped all the time, energetic all the time. And it's interesting because it's a form of energy that can almost be described as a form of euphoria, where it greatly improves your mood. My mood has been lifted ever since I started taking it, and it's not coming down. But there is a problem with this as well. I think that if you're someone who is prone to anxiety, this might make it worse, because it's going to hype you up so much, you're going to be buzzing around so much, no pun intended, that it might become a problem if you cannot actually spend and expend that energy. So that is the first thing that I found. Almost manic levels of energy throughout the day that never die down. Unless caffeine, this never tempers down. It's with you from the second you wake up to the second you go to bed. Second benefit that I found personally is improved aesthetics. For a long time, for 3 years actually, I've always had the sneaking suspicion that there was something happening to my physique in summer, because every single summer I would look at myself and think, okay, you look like $1,000,000 and you didn't look like this during winter. So what's happening? And there could be many factors. The fact that I'm tan because I take the sun, the fact that I'm less fat because I eat less in summer, the fact that maybe my mood is improved by summer, so I have a better self-image, a relationship with my own body. These are all possibilities. But at this point, I also have started to believe that it must be the bee pollen, because I've started to look at pictures and there is a drastic difference between the end months of winter when I'm not on bee pollen and the first month of spring when I start actually my intake, and I see this explosion in veins. I see the explosion in like certain muscles that look fuller, like the shoulders, like the upper arms. Stuff that I cannot really explain outside of the intake of that bee pollen. And when I take it out, these seem to also go away. So surprisingly, it seems that once again, our ancestors were correct, because the performance increase of the bee pollen intake also seemed to correlate strongly with an increase of aestheticism. Every time I take a break from making videos and I come back, my English is shit. I have to work on it because I have long videos planned. Third benefit that I want to discuss is increased performance. And this one is especially true for the upper body. So you might be like me, I log every single one of my lifts and I log them on pieces of paper and logbooks so I can go back to them later to review what my performance has been doing throughout the time on certain lifts. And by going back, researching for this video, I realized that every single spring, my performance does this, especially on presses. And I think that this is best explained by bee pollen. This time, there's not really a factor outside of it. For me, right now, I'm at a stage where I'm putting 5 to 10 pounds on my presses roughly every 2 weeks. And if you're advanced, you know what this means. Being able to put 10 pounds on your press as an advanced lifter every 2 weeks is bonkers. And it's what I'm experiencing right now. So I think that once again, the ancient Greeks were onto something. They didn't just feed bee pollen to their athletes for the laws. They did it because it actually works. And I was trying to research and read onto it. Actually, I found several mentions of bee pollen being banned at certain time periods in history because it was considered cheating. It was considered way too potent and way too effective. So there is something to it. And then we have the fourth benefit, the one that goes the best with summer, which is the effects of bee pollen. If you take a spoonful of this and you have like mild hunger, it seems to go away. And I think it's because this is so loaded with everything that you need that the body is like, okay, we have what we need for us for a moment. If you're a lifter, I think that this is going to be a great help once you are attempting to get shredded, because as we all know, hunger is the enemy of this. So that is all of the benefits that I can personally vouch I experienced. Is it maybe bro science-y? Is it maybe something that I've convinced myself? Could be. This could be just placebo effect, but I honestly don't think so. And so the first thing I think when I get great benefits as a natural lifter is, hey, I want to share with people like me. I want to share with my community, so this is what I'm doing. Now, how do I take it? How do I recommend you take it? First, begin, please, with my first recommendation, which is take it slowly. And if you're allergic, please be very careful. Don't go dying because you wanted extra gains. After that, once you build up to 1 teaspoon, the intake, the daily intake that is recommended for an adult male is 3 teaspoons a day. 1 in the morning, 1 after lunch, 1 before bed. I personally like to do it like this. I wake up, first thing I do in the morning, drink some water, take 1 teaspoon, and that's that. That's what I do. I then extend my fast, because I fast during the night, for an hour and a half. So I let the bee pollen really do its thing on an empty stomach. Then I have my breakfast. When it comes to the second teaspoon and third teaspoon of the day, I do them right after lunch and right after dinner. So this time with a full stomach. I don't take more than that because I think it's overkill. That is already a lot and you would get a lot of great benefits from it. I also like to pair bee pollen with honey. And this is also a great realization I had recently. For as long as I can remember, I was a consumer of supermarket honey, for lack of a better term, because I thought that there was no difference between that type of honey and one that I would buy directly from a farm. I was dead fucking wrong. This honey, just look at the color. This is real shit. This is real honey, not pasteurized, not mixed with fucking sugar water. This is real honey. It tastes like heaven. You know, like when you buy supermarket honey, you take 1 spoon and then you're done. It's like, it's starting to it almost is making you nauseous because it's too sugary. This, I could finish this if I wanted right now. Like just drinking it because it's so delicious. I won't because this tiny bottle is quite pricey because it's good shit. But what I like to do is I like to start with a spoon of this and then I do my bee pollen. I personally believe that mixing the two together is most efficient. This is what the Egyptians and the Greeks used to do. Then we have the issue of taste. So bee pollen to me is delicious. It's one of the most delicious things in the world. It's fresh. It has a bitterness. It's sweet. It's everything. But I understand that some people might not like it. If you do not like it, you can mix it with yogurt. The issue with doing it is that you're not going to be able to tap into my next tip. My next tip is when you take bee pollen, don't just take it and swallow it like an asshole, because you're not going to be able to absorb all of the nutrients that come with this great supplement. Instead, what I recommend is you take your teaspoon, put it in your mouth, and then you allow your saliva to dissolve the bee pollen until all of the little pellets are completely dissolved in your mouth. Then you swallow it. At the end of the day, find what works best for you. This is what works best for me. Then, where should you buy your bee pollen? Should you go on Amazon and buy bee pollen? No. 1, because it's going to be way expensive. 2, because you're going to miss out on a very important part of bee pollen, which is the anti-allergy benefits. If you buy pollen from another country, like let's say you're in France, you buy it from Argentina. Great. The bees that do their work in Argentina do not collect from flowers and trees that are in your local area. So it's not going to be as potent. Instead, I highly recommend you go local, because if you go local, the bees are also local. That is part for the course. You'll also find that it's much easier to find organic bee pollen when you go local. And on top of that, it's going to be cheaper. This big ass bottle that is going to last me a month cost $12. For Europeans, it's around 10 euros, okay? 10 to 15 euros, $10 to $15, $20 max. That's already starting to get really expensive. For organic bee pollen that lasts you a month is the price you should pay. If you pay more than this, you are getting scammed. So these are my recommendations on where to buy them. And you think, oh, I don't have a local bee farm next to me. You do. You actually do. Just look it up. I thought the same thing that I looked it up. There's one like not even 3 miles away from me. And regardless of where you live on the planet, humans, regardless of culture, have actually worked with bees, alongside bees. We have a relationship with bees. We offer them shelter and protection during the winter, and they give us their bee pollen and our honey back. So, be it in China, Argentina, France, I don't give a fuck where you live. You have bees, you have local bee farms, buy from them directly. On top of that, you're going to support your community. And that is that. I want to end this video with the $1 million question. Why did I make a video about a supplement that apparently helps with performance and size when I've said in the past that the majority, if not all, of supplements are fucking useless? It's because they are. Between training and bee pollen, training is always going to be better, okay? If you take this and you don't work hard on the side thinking you're going to get jacked, forget about it, you will never build muscle. But the reason why I feel comfortable promoting this supplement and not other supplements is because unlike the rest of them, this is a natural product. This is not refined, it's not manufactured. It's from the bees directly to your mouth. And so I feel confident with telling you guys to consume it because I'm not feeding into the fitness industry. I'm not feeding into the supplement industry. On top of that, bee farms are extremely beneficial to the environment. They're helped with pollination, with biodiversity. So by buying bee pollen from them, you're going to do a good thing for your local community as well. Also for your local businesses, it's great for health because even if you don't get any performance boost from this, it's going to greatly improve your health. And on top of that, it is delicious. It's a nice little treat. It's low on calories. What could go wrong with actually telling you guys to consume it? I will end with this because I know many of you guys are going to ask me, NH, is it possible to buy it in capsule forms? Can I buy this supplement instead? It's a weight loss supplement, it has bee pollen, fucking Optimal Nutrition sells this bee pollen supplement. Is it good? No. Buy bee pollen, real organic bee pollen, not a substract, not a pill, not something that has bee pollen in it and creatine. All of these products are garbage. The only thing they do is they take something that is actually great, then they transform it into something that is garbage for money. stop buying stuff from the fitness industry, please. But go buy from a local farm, and that is that. Again, I'm not being paid by Big B to say this, but hey, if the bees want to get together and give me a fat check for promoting their products, I would happily take it. And if you are the type of person who is going to take that advice and actually attempt bee pollen, I would actually be extremely interested in your feedback. So what you do is you start, all right, you microdose, then you start taking actual doses, and in a month or 2 months, you come back to this video and you tell me what you felt. Did you get benefits? If yes, which ones? Did you get side effects, negative side effects? If yes, which one? I'm actually genuinely curious to see if I'm the only one who is getting great benefits from this stuff. And if you do end up getting benefits, please consider supporting the channel on Ko-fi. It is the first link in the description. It is extremely important because without the people pledging every month, I wouldn't be able to make videos because this is my second job. So if you have $3 a month to spare, please consider getting a membership. That would mean a lot to me. And that is going to conclude this video. I've had this delicious stuff in front of me for like 40 minutes now, so I'm getting quite hungry. I'm going to snack on it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Hunger killing